Hello, Tazik Subi. Hello, artists. Hey, I don't even know how to read that. BB, Reber Bak. That's what you got. I found a video on YouTube on a channel called TreeIOfLogic. Hello, Arthur. How you doing? Great. I'm glad you guys are here. On a channel called TreeIOfLogic, some videos which were made several years ago right now. It's hard to believe how long all of this stuff has been ongoing. This black American woman here, I don't know her real name, but her channel is TreeIOfLogic. And the more I see this, the more I like it when people name their channel something other than their name. I believe she is ex-law enforcement. She has mentioned that she worked as a detective or in law enforcement. And I don't think she does many videos anymore. Her last video might be 2 or 3 years ago. Hopefully she just quit and it's not because of any other reason. When Candance Owens first came into prominence in 2017, there was immediately many people who were like, well, who is this person? This is a new name. And some people were very excited. And some people were skeptical. It's late in the day. You may get some really creative words coming out of my mouth. Skeptical of Candance Owens in 2017. Before we even go any further with the analysis here, I want to repeat. Candance Owens is an actress. She's an actress, not really a thought leader. That's not to say she's not smart. That's not to say she's not hardworking. What's to say, though, is that she is an actor, an actress. And as such, she will do what's necessary for the roles that she is being hired for. And she doesn't really have any formal training as an actress. It just kind of happened, as a consequence of her path and her attractiveness and the situation she was in. She got opportunities, and those opportunities align with what I imagine she saw herself doing. I have definitely fallen into this trap, but I bet way less than most people, and I think over the last few weeks, less and less every single day. If I do still say it, I'm wording it poorly. It's not about Candance Owens. Candance Owens is playing a role. It's not what Candance Owens says. It's not that Candance Owens is lying. What she says may be not true. But if you're an actor or an actress, if you're told to say something that isn't true, then you say something that isn't true. The thing is that people don't know she is an actress. So how much of that is purely Candance Owens' fault versus the bigger picture? If we have this whole Twitter space, YouTube space, podcast space, we are led to believe that these are real people, and this is a problem. This is a critical problem. We have been told that Twitter and YouTube and podcasts are the new town square, but some people are in the town square like me, going around having some conversations, and then other people get a stage that's paid by someone else, a little canopy. They get free snacks, which other people can grab some. If they listen to them for a while, they get a microphone. It's really not a town square when some people are paid to go to the town square and have instant audio boost and tents and giveaways and shirts and promotions, and other people go to the town square to tell those other strangers to talk to this person over here. It's not really fair. So the town square analogy is appropriate, but there's things going on which most people are just not aware of. So Candance Owens shouldn't be seen as the target. However, Candance Owens is going to be one of the most vital people in history in understanding how fake this online world of podcasts and influencers are. Candance Owens could actually come out of this as a hero. Candance Owens, it could be a tough thing for Candance Owens, but she could come out of this after being the victim of the one person which has to expose all of this for what it is, as someone who could shepherd a lot of people to the next thing. I believe strongly that Candance Owens could help with that. Just simply tearing down Candance Owens and making her cry and ruining her career, showing that she says isn't true, doesn't really accomplish anything. Because there's already a line of several hundred people ready to step into the seat and be the next Candance Owens. The system right now needs Candance Owenses, and there's more ready to go. So if Candance Owens hears this, hopefully she knows it's not about her. Although this role of being this type of a public influencer and a podcaster does have an impact. The lies and the misdirection and the wasted time that comes from people claiming to be influencers and thought leaders and podcasters and investigative journalists and all this other shit has led to people dying, has led to people making bad decisions, has led to people being confused about medical decisions to make, about who to vote for, about maybe where to move and how to spend their money. So there have been real things, but the things which these people were asked to say and do came from somewhere else. It's the bigger system. Candance Owens has been hired. She's been recruited. She was discovered. And I find her career path to be interesting. Hey, gang. Again, Arthur, Bach, Candance Owens. And I'm going to say a prayer, and hopefully you do, that Candance Owens will be okay through this, and that maybe, because what we're going to say is going to be really gosh darn cruel, that maybe she'll be one of the first people to someday just go out, grab an anonymous account, and then open up a Periscope or something like that, and then just tell people what it is. It's all lies, and she's an actress. And I don't care if she's left or right. I really don't. Candance Owens is an American. She was born in the United States of America. I believe her parents, or at least one of them, was born in the United States of America. Candance Owens is much younger than me. She's going to be around years after I'm gone. So I hope that she makes better decisions going forward because her influence is going to be in this country long after I'm gone. That's just the way it is, all right? And it's not going to be helpful to have just a lot of, because I expressed a lot of anger before, but to simply have that, it's not going to be the most effective way to go. So TreeIOfLogic here did a lot of work on the Candance Owens videos exposing the Candance Owens hypocrisy. This is like 8-9 years ago right now. This video was from October 23rd, 2017. Candance Owens' big break with respect to Gamergate was in 2016. And then Candance Owens was on InfoWars 5 times in 2016 and early 2017. 5 times she was on InfoWars. 5 times. She also was Stefan Molyneux the week after Charlottesville. And then 1 week after that, she was on the Dave Rubin Report. And then 1 week after that, or 2 weeks after that, she was on Fox News. If you go to newspapers.com, search for, quote, Candance Owens, unquote, there is not one reference of her in the entirety of the year 2017. Every reference to her for an entire year where she was on InfoWars several times has been deleted from U.S. newspapers. It's hardcore. So there's been a lot of work done to try to bury big parts of her past. Now I'm going to let the TreeIOfLogic woman speak. Again, she used to be a cop. Let her speak for a little bit. And she has come to a conclusion that Candance Owens, through the social autopsy company that she started and the whole Gamergate thing in 2016, but that was a grift operation. And there might have been some elements of grift on it. But what the TreeIOfLogic woman missed, and I think it was just because she didn't catch this part, was that Candance Owens' big opportunity was not really about the social autopsy company. There's a big part that she missed, and I'm going to add it what it is. So she goes in, she plays some of the old Candance Owens videos.
Our team will review
from social autopsy,
along with the screen cap of the words said. You cannot reply to it.
So you can't add any context.
And she reviews the social autopsy company, the Wuss Woman Tree of Life. Again, American ex-cop. This is a video from 8 years ago.
You still think this woman is a conservative?
We exist as a clean archive of an individual's words only, from which employers, friends, and universities alike may draw their own conclusions.
Good to have you here, Jeff.
Simply put, social autopsy is your digital footprint, so be mindful of the words that you share.
Candance Owens, aka Red Pill Black, is a SJW feminist, pretending to be a conservative. And I'll explain later in this video how she was able to fool these gullible right-leaning individuals into promoting her, thus giving her the opportunity to collect the startup money in order to launch her doxing website. Not only does Candance Owens believe in doxing adults who participate in wrongthink, she also believes that your children should be doxed too.
Hey guys, it is Candance Owens, the founder of socialautopsy.com. We've gotten so many comments, questions, and concerns written in about our database from some of the articles that ran about it.
Just a little bit.
Now you're probably asking yourself, Tree, how did this happen? How did we as conservatives let some crazy SJW infiltrate our side of the political spectrum? Oh, it wasn't hard, honey. Let me tell you how it was done. When I first saw Candance Owens, aka Red Pill Black, it was something about her that seemed fake to me. Every time I watched her videos, it was as if I was watching a con artist. Maybe it's the sixth sense I still have from being a police officer, but while everyone was raving over her, begging me to bring her onto my channel and follow her on Twitter, I rejected their suggestions and decided to stay my distance because I knew deep inside that something about this chick was not right. You see, on April the 13th, 2015, Candance Owens launched a Kickstarter to fund her doxing website called socialautopsy.com. When liberals heard about it, they immediately warned everyone on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Candance Owens was looking to raise $75,000 to launch this doxing website. That day, a long list of liberal YouTubers began to make videos about it. They were warning everyone that this chick named Candance Owens launched a Kickstarter to fund a doxing website. So they, along with Reddit and 4chan, joined together to put a stop to it. They also created a petition demanding that Kickstarter terminate her financial campaign. Even the Young Turks made a video about it and said that this was a bad idea.
One of the recent Young Turks was recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and I suspect that Armenia genocide recognition efforts have some positive relationships with the Young Turks news organization, though that's speculation.
Yes, the Young Turks. So due to the justified outrage from the left, Kickstarter suspended Candance Owens' fundraiser campaign 24 hours later. Now remember, this is the same doxing website that she told all these right-leaning men that it was just an innocent anti-bullying website. But instead of fact-checking her, they were all blinded by her charm and believed her story without investigating it. Now that her Kickstarter was suspended because it violated the terms of service in addition to being a horrible concept, Candance did what Candance does best.
Or what Candance is paid to do.
She played the victim. She created this fictitious story about Zoe Quinn releasing her army of gamer gators, and this was the reason why her Kickstarter was suspended. Now, I told you all the truth. I explained what really happened, and the links to prove that I'm telling the truth are in the description box below. But let's listen to Candace's twisted version of what she thinks happened.
A woman named Zoe Quinn contacted me within a few hours of us being on Kickstarter, and she
TreeIOfLogic went through and captured a boatload of Candance Owens' Facebook videos in 2017.
Basically introduced herself as ground zero of Gamergate and said that anonymous white males attacked her on the internet, and she threatened me and said, take down your Kickstarter or white males are going to come and attack you. Obviously, I refused to take down my Kickstarter. You know, I said, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm not going to just back down. And she grew hysterical and started crying and said, you're going to ruin everything, and sort of this like ominous threat. I hung up the phone with her, and within hours, I was inundated on emails by people with these obvious for Trump sort of, email addresses. And they were, calling me a nigger, threatening to tar and feather my family. Just this really vicious, nasty attack. And it was beyond obvious to me that it was being orchestrated by her. And I made that claim on my Twitter account. I said, I don't know anything about the Gamergate scandal, but I can tell you that this girl, Zoe Quinn, is no victim.
For the record, I don't like Zoe Quinn. Personally, I think she's a nasty woman. However, in all fairness, why would Zoe Quinn call a complete stranger, demand that she takes down her Kickstarter, and then cries because she doesn't? When Candance explains this story in other interviews, she said that Zoe wanted to protect the identity of the men who were harassing her. Since when has a feminist stepped up to defend men, especially the ones who call her a slut, a bitch, a whore, cunt, and constantly tell her on a daily basis to drink bleach? And what the hell is there to cry about? Like, seriously, why would Zoe cry about this? None of this makes any sense. But then again, I'm the one who's using logic over here, while the other conservatives are using their fifis. So after having thousands upon thousands of people tweet to her how deluded and crazy she is, Candance deleted her Twitter handle @socialcoroner and created a new one @S_autopsy. Here's a screenshot of her lying about being fully funded to launch socialautopsy.com and that she'll be back with a vengeance. She may have lied about being fully funded at that time, but she's definitely back with a vengeance. Soon after that, she deleted that Twitter profile and went underground to regroup. 5 months later, she resurfaced again on TED Talk's YouTube channel. The title to that video is The Truth About Your Activism. When I watched this video, I noticed something very odd. Yes, she was telling a different victim story, but nowhere in this lecture did she say anything about being red-pilled, nor does she claim to be a conservative. Everything she said in this video was spoken like a true SJW. But that wasn't a part of the video that I found odd. What I found suspect was the fact that she was talking to an empty auditorium. If you pause the video at the 15-minute time,
at the 15-minute timeline, you'll see she was presenting to an empty audience. This was her TED Talk. Candance Owens was presenting to an empty audience. Nobody there. Nobody home. The 2015, 16, 17 Candance Owens timeline is very interesting. Definitely, because if you look at newspapers.com, you will see that almost all references to Candance Owens have been deleted in those years. Wiped. There were a couple in the Connecticut newspapers in early 2016, but that's it. There's no way that somebody can be on Stefan Molyneux and then the Dave Rubin Report and then InfoWars 5 times and then on Fox News and be involved in Gamergate, Social Autopsy, and have not one mention in any U.S. newspaper in all of 2017. That means that a professional has gone to newspapers.com, Ancestry.com, and deleted and de-indexed hundreds, if not thousands, of Candance Owens mentions in those years to control the narrative. Her role here is odd. At this time, she was at around, 25, 26, 27 in this year. This would have been 2016 was the Gamergate year. And then 2017 is the year where there was the Charlottesville Unite the Right rally where that one person died. And that's when she started making videos. And that's when she wound up on all those other podcasts. So I'm still constructing the timeline, and I'm capturing. If you go to HousatonicITS.com or Housatonic.live, click on O, you'll find Candance Owens, Candance Owens, and you can see the chronological order of the evidence. So there's definitely been a lot of scrubbing there. One thing that I like that Tree of Logic has picked up on is that Candance Owens, for a little while with this social autopsy company, was clearly saying things which would have resonated with this whole far-right, angry white male video gamer world. And then when she did this TED Talk, which I think was later in 2016, she was more neutral again. So Candance Owens is kind of drifting around at this time. This is a big point in her life where after wherever she went in New York City in private equity, she's still pretty young, but she's trying to find a place. And the social autopsy thing, I don't believe it was just her idea alone. The idea came from somewhere else, or at the very least involved a lot of other people, because other people were with that organization. I don't think she did it all for one grift. Instead, one thing I believe that Tree of Logic might have overlooked is that the Kickstarter was not made to raise money for Candance Owens. The Kickstarter, the fundraiser, was made to create visibility to this effort. The Kickstarter site was made to give a platform for this discussion and for this debate and for this controversy. It really wasn't about, if they could land an extra $75,000, well, that's great. But they are actually launching this thing from their Greenwich, New York City apartments. So there's already money there. They're already taken care of. They don't really need the money. That's not why they're doing the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter was about creating visibility. And some of it probably went according to plan, maybe not. You know, it's mushy here, okay? It's kind of mushy what's going on here. And so Tree of Logic, I think, makes a mistake here in thinking that Candance Owens' start is more closely aligned with grifting. I'm not so sure that. I think that's an oversimplification. Clearly, she's willing to act as a career, but I think grifting is the wrong way of looking at it. And another mistake that other people who have been critical of Candance Owens, such as Hotep Jesus or Hotep Jesus, is to think that Candance Owens got some visibility, more opportunity when she married this English guy, this farmer dude, and then there's Tucker Carlson and CIA. And I believe they all got it wrong. And they are all missing one of the most important parts of Candance Owens' life. And I covered this in my previous show. I shouldn't even be doing a show right now. It's late. And you can learn a lot about this by going to the, matter of fact, I'll just go over here. And I did show a little bit of this earlier, but if you go to the Candance Owens page and you consider the fact that she had this, yeah, here's a screenshot in 2017. Not one mention in any U.S. newspaper. I archived that search result. Is when she is on the Stefan Molyneux show, and it's September 10th, 2017, just a couple weeks after Charlottesville. And I'm going to tell you why this will help you understand so much about Candance Owens here. Because after this, or I should say during this, Candance Owens talks about her incident in high school where in Stamford, Connecticut, which was considered to be a hate crime or a hate crime threat. And whether the statements were or were not made, I don't know. Okay, there was a settlement, and it did get the NAACP involved in 2007. And Candance Owens in this video said that it got the NAACP involved in Connecticut, and it did get Al Sharpton involved, and then Jesse J. She doesn't say the name Jesse Jackson. Stefan Molyneux then goes on to say, wow, Candance, based upon the things that you shared with me, what you went through was almost satanic. That's a pretty strong phrase to use. Satanic. That's throwing around satanic, very easily. Now I don't know what the threshold for being satanic is. Satanic, you know what satanic would be? Would be using life expectancy drops driven predominantly from an opioid epidemic in the United States of America and killing young people to say we have a deadly novel virus and therefore you need an experimental gene therapy vaccine. That is satanic. If someone did threaten to kill her, that's awful. I'm not sure that's satanic. If she made it up, that's awful, but I'm not sure that's satanic. So Stefan Molyneux himself actually looks like a social justice warrior in this video. But what I love about this video, and it proves what I've been trying to say, is Candance Owens talks about her high school situation, that there was a settlement, and then she said that she struggled with anorexia for 5 years, 5 or 6 years, and then because of the bullying that she experienced in high school, she started a company. This video, she never mentions Rhode Island. She never mentioned Rhode Island in this video. She went to the University of Rhode Island. She never mentioned Rhode Island. Now, she didn't have to say Rhode Island. Stefan Molyneux, I don't think, did not ask her, where did you go to college? But she said, well, I was in high school. There was this racial threat, and then I had anorexia. I worked in private equity, and then I started a company. Like, wow, you kind of missed a few steps there. She didn't want to say Jesse Jackson because Jesse Jackson of the NAACP, Jesse Jackson's one of his best friends, and one of the people he trusted most on earth was a man named Mark Weiner, one of the top fundraisers of the DNC and manufacturer of most of the DNC merchandise. And Mark Weiner's daughter, Zoe Weiner, circled here, is a person that Candance Owens started that company with. And Mark Weiner is a bigwig from Rhode Island. Zoe Weiner herself is so close to Hillary Clinton that she goes Costco shopping with Hillary Clinton. This is the story of Candance Owens. Candance Owens is a DNC operator. She is. She's also has somehow media Hollywood connections, which I think are facilitated through Harvey Weinstein or some other part of the Las Vegas Hollywood network. I don't have it quite all figured out, but people discovered her through this Gamergate thing in 2016. People discovered her, such as perhaps Steve Bannon, Harvey Weinstein, Miley Yiannopoulos, Paul Joseph Watson out in the UK. That is when Candance Owens got some visibility. Now, I suspect that Candance Owens handled herself not as well as they would have hoped with Gamergate. I think she kind of flopped, which is why they deleted all the stuff about her in 2016, and they told her to kind of go away. Either go away or you're going down to the minor leagues for a while. You're not ready for this game. She did the TED Talk in 2016 where she was either left nor right anymore. She's kind of neutral again. And then in 2017, they bring her back after Trump won. After Trump won, they needed someone that sort of filled this little gap of a black attractive, young, conservative person in America. The problem is, I think that there's a lot of black Americans who are actually pretty conservative. Believe it or not, I know people don't like to hear that, but it's true. So what you need to do is you need to find someone that they are going to be pleased to see, such as Candance Owens, perhaps, okay, and then win over their trust, and then at the worst time, pull them back. Use that person that you can put on the camera to pull them back, or to sow distrust, sow division at the right time. And that's how Candance Owens was used. She was brought back in early 2017. They told her to make up a YouTube channel. She said very controversial things around the Charlottesville event. The Charlottesville mayor, or I should say the Virginia mayor involved in Charlottesville, Terry McAuliffe, is also one of the most trusted friends of Mark Weiner, whose daughter Candance Owens started a company with. It's one of the reasons why she was trusted to be part of the Charlottesville operation. Terry McAuliffe. And Terry McAuliffe also goes way back, decades, with Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and so on. John Podesta. And then we also see another element shown here, which is definitely way beyond what anyone else has gotten to. And that is how a key part of the Human Genome Project, as well as computing technology related to searching for background viruses, is also in Rhode Island. The architect of the national health care, which was being envisioned under the Clinton administration, mostly overseen by Hillary Clinton, came out of a man, some whiz kid, Wall Street, Boston consulting group guy, Ira Magaziner, who was recently announced to be on the Jeffrey Epstein flight log list. And Ira Magaziner goes all the way back to college with Bill Clinton. And Ira Magaziner is also a confidant of such as people involved in Epivax, which went on to hire years later Robert Malone, etc. There's this other dimension in Rhode Island that I'm starting to reveal here. Candance Owens' connections in Rhode Island are very important. I wonder how long ago Candance Owens met Robert Malone. Candance Owens had a 3.5-hour interview, and that's after editing. 3.5 hours. It was 2 parts with Robert Malone. It was released in the first week of February of 2022. There's shorts of it, clips, which came out in January 2022, which means it was recorded only a few days after Robert Malone did his 4 hours with Joe Rogan at the end of 2021. So Candance Owens, Joe Rogan, Robert Malone, you can see a timeline of collusion at the end of 2021, early 2022. Now let's also talk about other people related to Hollywood. I threw out that Harvey Weinstein name before. Is it any shock that Harvey Weinstein, the only person that got a Harvey Weinstein interview in the last 8 years, is Candance Owens? Do you think that's just a coincidence? Do you think it's just a coincidence that Candance Owens, that interview with Harvey Weinstein, is Harvey Weinstein saying that, yeah, maybe he did some bad things, but Harvey Weinstein ultimately saying that the bad things were made, that he was encouraged to do, or worse things were being done by Israelis, Zionists, and people connected to 9/11. Also, what's the whole story about the Charlie Kirk assassination? Charlie Kirk was killed to hide the truth about Israel and 9/11. I released a video earlier today. Candance Owens saying that Americans were all being encouraged to hate Muslims and think that every Muslim was a terrorist after 9/11. Even coming out with a stupid-ass apology for it at the end of 2024. I saw another video today of some tall, wandering dude who's walking around where Charlie Kirk was supposedly shot, although I don't think he was actually shot. If he was shot, it was because he said the United States should avoid getting involved in the India-Pakistan war. But most people don't have the balls to actually say that. Most people don't have the balls to even say the word India on a podcast anymore. It's all Israel. Even though, how many connections related to India are we finding right now in 9/11? Candance Owens, the Harvey Weinstein operation, even the Steve Bannon network is all about creating confusion, kicking the can down the road so people do not hear that the truth is starting to come out regarding India and 9/11. And it wasn't going to be 9/11. It was going to be something afterwards. It was probably going to be, I don't know, a large-scale biological terror attack right around Thanksgiving Day. Something which would have created an opportunity to use the United States military as a captive population for testing an experimental DNA anthrax vaccine, as documented in the book Germs, that came out on September 9th, 2001. That's pretty shocking, because it's Era Magaziner and the National Healthcare Policy, which I should say that Era Magaziner was working on to facilitate the Human Genome Project that would have ultimately turned the entirety of the U.S. population into a captive population for medical experimentation. Crazy about that, huh? And it was Flight 93 that crashed into the middle of a field in Pennsylvania, only 10 miles away from the Cancer Research Center. And Winber, you know, the one that Robert Malone, who was working with, eventually wound up working with Epivax up in Rhode Island with probably some Era Magaziner government, state, federal money. Robert Malone working with the lawyer who went on to become the United States ambassador to India. There's that India word again. Richard Verma. Richard Verma, who went on to lead the economic recovery of Ukraine for the United States State Department under Biden. I thought Ukraine was important. Nope. You can't talk about Ukraine when mentioning Richard Verma in the United States State Department role, because then you're going to realize that the economic recovery of Ukraine is something that the nation of India has a vested interest in. You wouldn't realize that the current president or prime minister, whatever the hell you want to call him, that dancing buffoon of Ukraine, before he makes any phone calls to Trump or Putin or anyone else, he calls Modi of India. Nobody wants to talk about that. It's just nothing but Jews in Israel, Trump, Xi, and Putin. Just ignore India. Everyone just says, just ignore them. Don't think about them. Ignore the fact that we have Indian-born people running several key agencies in the United States of America, including the National Institutes of Health right now, and Jayanta Bhattacharya, who, even though he went to Stanford and is some mathematical wizard, is incapable of opening up an effing spreadsheet and realizing that life expectancy drops were predominantly driven by an opioid epidemic killing young people in the United States of America. With the only country that has a bigger problem is Pakistan. Pakistan-India conflict. That's the one thing that Charlie Kirk said don't get involved in. Right before all the evidence started to be seeded by idiots in Israel, supposedly incapable of caching a search result of who the medical examiner was in Utah. Doing the search over and over and over and over again. Idiots in Israel. I thought Israel controlled the internet and the chips and the search engines and the companies and the databases and the corporations and all the money and all the banks. But Israelis are just too effing stupid to actually use a VPN to search for the medical examiner outside the nation of Israel. That's incredible how stunning and how stupid that breadcrumbed evidence is. I thought people were good at metadata analysis. But you actually just, they'll just throw something like that out there with all of that evidence actually having been created and breadcrumbed after Charlie Kirk went on to say that the United States should not get involved in the India-Pakistan war. And then Candance Owens then gets on the air to say, whoa, Erica Kirk, can't trust her. She's wasting time going to swearing-in ceremonies. What's the one swearing-in ceremony Erica Kirk went to? Holy shit. It was for the new U.S. ambassador to India. That nation that nobody will ever mention. People will mention Israel at a ratio of 1,000 to 1. Right now, I challenge you. You get on, go to InfoWars. Go to InfoWars. Go to Redacted. Search for Israel and search for India. You will see Israel is mentioned at a minimum of 250 to 500 and possibly as much as 1,000 times. The word India is mentioned. Does that make any sense at all, given the fact that India's economy is at least 50, so many times larger? Not to mention there's 120 to 140 people in India for every one Israeli. Does that make any sense at all to anybody other than the fact that Israel right now is being used as a sword and a shield as a deflection so people don't realize where the money really is? The bankers and the people who have the money are not going to invest where the money was. They're investing in the future. And right now, the demographics and the money, the technology and the patents are not Israel. It's India, more so than Russia, more so than China even. It is what it is. And you can see it right now in Candance Owens. She's not aware of this stuff. It's not her fault, but she is paid to be part of this. She's a paid actress. She is a paid actress. And as much as she loves to throw out innuendos about Israel and Jeffrey Epstein and pedophiles and island hopping, she misses, of course, she'll never mention Era Magaziner. She'll never mention anything about her time in Rhode Island, the role of Mark Weiner. She'll never mention any of that. She just went from bad experience in high school to anorexia to Wall Street to company. That's it. Just there's no mention of Jesse Jackson in there at all. And if there is, it's an accident. That is why, for example, Stefan Molyneux was a training video. It was a training opportunity to get her ready for bigger and bigger podcasts in 2017, which, of course, subsequently many of those have also been censored. Oh, boy. I hope, as I've said earlier in the show, Candance Owens, she's going to be around. She's an American. She's going to be around a long time. She's going to be around years after I'm gone, hopefully. I hope, because what is going to happen is people are going to admit that it was all an act and it was all fake. The Rule by podcast is going to end. It may end after I'm gone, but it's going to end. And I believe that Candance Owens, and this wasn't her call to make it so, right now is going to be the one that's going to have to crash and burn. She is going to be the poster child for how it got exposed, how they use actors and actresses. When it comes to podcasts and Rule by Podcast, there's going to be a picture of Candance Owens there. And every single person that said, you need to ignore India, you need to ignore how they use supplemental oxygen to murder people during COVID, you need to ignore the opioid epidemic, you need to ignore everything and just focus on what? Money laundering and Turning Point USA or some bullshit like that and save Candance Owens? Come on. It's all a joke. And it's going to be exposed. And I hope that as Candace Owens has this fallout, and it's going to happen. It is unstoppable. You only have moments or days or months to redeem yourself. It's going to happen. And after she crashes and burns, I hope she then comes out and tells the world exactly how it happened, so it doesn't happen again. For all of us, left, right, conservative, whatever, and not just for the benefit of Americans, for the benefit of people in other countries as well. I hope that happens to Candance Owens. I hope it's seen how she was used. And even the people defending her are in reality using her. If you want to understand her path, you have to connect the dots of those years. You have to see the people who recruited her. You have to start asking, is it reasonable at all to just simply overlook the fact that she got Steve Bannon to go to the border to have an interview with her 3-4 days before Jeffrey Epstein dies and disappears? And only a couple of weeks after Steve Bannon had 3-4 days of unreleased video interview with Jeffrey Epstein, which still the world hasn't seen. She has connections to everyone and everything. She's been on every show you can imagine. She's got everyone's phone numbers. She can call anyone to solve any crime. It's all because she's an actress. And this whole thing of having an interview but not releasing video recently with Erica Kirk, have you stopped for a moment to realize that's exactly the same thing that Steve Bannon did with Jeffrey Epstein? It's exactly the same thing. So now, with a little bit of AI, you can recreate anything in the future. That's going to happen in the future. Some crazy unforeseen event will have happened. And then they'll be able to say, well, you wouldn't believe it. But that unreleased video from Candance Owens and Erica Kirk or Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein years ago, holy cow, they actually did comment on that. You can start creating lies that things were said in the past that actually weren't by just saying, oh, well, these people talked for 10 hours, they didn't release it. Oh, those two people, they talked for 40 hours and they didn't release it. And then you just release it in the future. No wonder why Jeffrey Epstein had on a beard, glasses, and a hat for that interview. Suddenly, he's so covered up that doing a little bit of AI would be the easiest thing in the world. Duh, it's so easy to see. Thank you, TreeIOfLogic, for the work that you did. I hope you're doing well. I don't think you're doing any more videos. Thank you for the work that you did. Thank you for the expose on Candance Owens. You guys stay good, stay positive. Tomorrow, we might be able to see some baby puppies. So, I need to get some sleep. Subi, my money is a large percentage of famous conservatives online are fake. I think they are mostly fake. I think what Subi said is right. Most conservatives tend to mind their own business and just want to focus on their job and their family. The idea of wanting to be politically active, to influence other people, I mean, even if you wanted to, if you had a lot of money, maybe, but there is no money. Who is going to pay someone to be a conservative politician? Who? Or an online influencer? Who? Almost every single online influencer who claims to be conservative and anti-woke is in reality not that at all. They're just not. They're pretending to be, to win people's confidence, and then at the worst possible time see doubt, tell people not to vote, tell people there's no future, everything's wrong. You get people confused, make people look bad by association. There's no money there. So if someone has some financial resources, they might be able to do it on their own. I'm an analyst, so whether or not I'm left or right really shouldn't matter that much as far as what I do. I still don't know. I got different ideas on different things, but it was only because I was reasonably good as an engineer that I was able to make a stupid financial decision and do what I do here. It's not because I won the lottery. It's because I worked my ass off, and now I'm starting to realize that there's going to be consequences of as I worked my way through my 50s. There will be consequences of still having a mortgage and not having savings. There will be consequences of that. Oh well, you know what? It's my own family that I don't like to have to deal with that, but there are Americans who at the age 22 lose a leg, lose limbs in wars which are of questionable merit, and then get almost no money for it, and then have to fall into addiction. So when you look at what I've lost and sacrificed compared to what other Americans have sacrificed, it's still pretty small potatoes. It's big, but I'm still blessed in many ways. So hope you guys just stay positive. And again, it's not a personal thing. Don't think it's about any claims of grifting against I could care less about grifting. That's not a big deal. It's calling out the Rule by podcast, and it's breaking right now. It's breaking right now. Look, it took 8 years after this video by TreeIOfLogic for the relevance of her work to be renewed and added to and built on. It takes a long time to get here. Hopefully, it's not going to have to be another 8 years. And let's hope that maybe Candance Owens will be part of helping people realize how much fakery there has been, and to get past the Rule by podcast. It's going to happen with or without her. Let's hope that she makes some good decisions. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Take care. Have a great night. God bless. By the way, it was episode 1431, I think, 12:06 a.m. right now in the morning, Friday, December 19th, 2025.